GISD Today. For your first-hand look at what's going on inside Greenville's public schools, I'm Sarah Baucom.
And I'm Natalie Whitson.
In a few minutes, we'll get the scoop on some noteworthy student accomplishments and find out how parents can help on that all-important TAKS day. But first, our top story.
City of Greenville residents will gather in downtown Greenville on Saturday, April 18th for the annual Drug-Free Greenville Walkathon. It's an important day for everyone in Greenville, but especially for the children.
GISD Today's Brad Press sat down with Sharon Kroenke of Drug-Free Greenville and found out that much of the programming Drug-Free provides is geared toward youth, so district staffers and students have historically gotten involved.
Welcome to today's edition of GISD Today. I'm Brad Press, your host, and we appreciate you making us a part of your day. The month of April is an extremely busy month for the Greenville Independent School District. You've got TAKS testing, which we'll talk a little bit more about later on. You've also got prom, spring sports, spring band competition, foreign language competition, things like that. If it happens in the school district, it's probably happening during the month of April. But perhaps the most significant event for the Greenville School District occurs in April, and it's not even an official school event. We're speaking, of course, about the annual Drug-Free Greenville Walkathon, which is scheduled for April 18th in downtown Greenville. And joining me here today in the Annie Mae Scrimshire Library at Lamar Elementary is Sharon Kroenke. Sharon is the Executive Director of Drug-Free Greenville. And Sharon, we've had many conversations over the years about the Walkathon and Drug-Free Greenville. I think this is the first time we've ever done it in front of a camera.
It is.
So I think we'll make do, and we'll behave ourselves this time. Busy time of year for you, I would think.
It's really busy. Yeah, I'm meeting myself coming and going, but we've got wonderful things coming. Every walk brings something special and new with it, and this walk is no exception. We have a wonderful thing that's coming. I don't know if you've noticed that we have new orange t-shirts that we are all wearing.
I've not seen those yet.
On the orange t-shirts, our little man that we call Mr. Walkopoly is being dragged off to jail.
Oh, no.
And so we are using the theme of staying drug-free and staying out of jail. But because we have the jail theme, we decided that we should have a jail at the walk this year. So for a mere $1, you can buy yourself a stay out of jail policy, which of course is a get out of jail free card from the Explorers. Or you could put somebody in jail for picking flowers on Marvin's Gardens or something like that. So it's fun.
Well, before we go any further, I do want to provide our viewers with just some basic information about the walkathon. The 21st annual Drug-Free Walkathon is set for Saturday, April 18th in downtown Greenville. Registration begins at 8 a.m. and the warm-up, which is followed by the walk, begins at 9 a.m. Just like in prior years, this year's walkathon features a Walkopoly theme where the route is similar to a giant game board and all walkers are the playing pieces. After the walk, Appetite Alley at Taste of Greenville will again host hungry walkers with extended hours until, I believe that's 1:30 p.m.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Local restaurants will participate, and walk participants can use taster tickets to sample their favorite dishes. And most importantly, all proceeds from the walk benefit Drug-Free Greenville, the volunteer organization that provides extensive prevention programs for local schools as well as business and industry. Now, Sharon, let's pretend for a second that our viewer that is turning in is either A, just moved to Greenville, or B, lived under a rock for the last 21 years. Explain the concept of the walkathon. Tell me exactly what the walkathon is.
The walkathon is really stellar prevention. It did start out to be, and continues to be, the focus of our fundraising, but it's much more than that. It's gone way beyond that. It is our single largest prevention event each year. Last year we had 2,500 people at the walkathon, which for our community is a very considerable number. The reason it works so well is because it's geared to be a multi-generational event. So moms and dads, grandmas and grandpas, aunts and uncles can walk with their kids and walk with the statement, making the message that it is better to live drug-free. And it's a powerful thing to do something together with 2,500 other people, all believing in the same thing. It's a very powerful message. And after you walk the walk, and this is not designed to be a killer walk, it's designed to be a walk that's doable for anybody. And even if you can't do the whole 4 miles, you could do whatever part of it is comfortable for you and do it with your kids. come back then to Farmers Market, where we want to celebrate this really important thing that you've just done. So we have a real festival downtown in Farmers Market when it's all over, and we have a real party.
Well, now, and as I said before, this is not an official school event, but Greenville ISD students and also Greenville ISD staff have historically gotten involved in the walkathon. Why do you think that's so?
Well, I hope the reason that they've done it is because it's really important. First line prevention happens at the school. It happens where the kids are, and it happens with the teachers, and it happens with the principals. And there would be no point in our having a walkathon if we weren't going to be in the schools with the message at the same time. We would lose it as a teaching tool. So what we've invited the principals to do, and they have been wonderful with meeting this challenge, we have invited them each to come up with a challenge for their school. A challenge that is something that can be met by their students. If my campus raises so much money, I will do X, Y, Z. And those challenges actually begin tomorrow, and we will start playing out the different challenges at the different campuses. But the important message through all of this is that the principal is willing to do this at whatever campus because that principal believes in her or his students so much and wants them to grow up drug-free so much that they're willing to do this. So they continue to say that message so that the message is there.
Right. One of the reasons why we wanted to have you on today is not just to talk about the walkathon, but I wanted to talk about programs. I think one thing that the public, a lot of people in the public probably don't realize, even when they're supporting Drug-Free Greenville, even when they're going out to the walkathon, I don't think they realize the number and quality of programs that Drug-Free Greenville provides to the community within the Greenville schools. Let's talk a little bit about some of the programs that Drug-Free provides in Greenville ISD.
Okay. I know that most people are fairly familiar with Red Ribbon, and Red Ribbon for us is a huge push within the school system because we take the entire month of October and focus on drug prevention at every campus in multiple ways. So during that time we have assemblies, we have activities, we have specific campus celebrations or kind of a participatory program that happens. For instance, at the middle school, they work getting what we call the Crack Kills Egg Drop Challenge ready. And they learn about how to drop a raw egg from a height and how to protect that egg. But at the same time, they're learning drug prevention messages and information. And then we go out and we drop the eggs from a bucket truck and have a big contest when we're doing it. And it's fun. So it's a fun way to learn the message. There's prevention baseball, there's the kite fly, there's the HEROES program. And the HEROES program happens in 3 separate phases because the first part is we make the HEROES cards of the first responders. And GMS teacher Lori King takes those photos for us. We turn them in to like baseball type cards. On the back of the cards are prevention baseball questions, which are drug fact questions, so that the kids become familiar with that information. Then in order to collect those cards, the second phase happens, and that's HEROES Night. And at the time that we do HEROES Night, we have all the first responders in one place where the community and our community's children can go and collect those cards from the card holders, get their autographs, shake their hand, appreciate the job they do, and then they take them back to the classroom and they play a kind of bingo with the cards. Then the third phase kicks in, and the winning classes from each school get to go to a lunch with the heroes. That will happen in May. And that's a well sought after prize, because not only is it really special to get to go to lunch and sit at a table with a police officer or a firefighter or emergency medical personnel, they get to the site via a bus ride with a police escort, and that's the part that's really the exciting, fun part.
My kids' class won this year, so
cool.
I can testify
cool.
that riding the bus to the event was the coolest thing of the whole day.
Good.
These programs that you've mentioned are very, I think people that live in Greenville are very aware of them. The kite fly in Greenville is an event that gets a lot of publicity. Red Ribbon Week is an event that is a week long of events that gets a lot of publicity. The Heroes event is an event that gets a lot of publicity. I think people are aware of these programs, but I don't think sometimes we realize what all goes into putting those programs on. If you were to have to put a dollar figure on the programs that Drug-Free invests in the community through the schools, what would that dollar figure be roughly?
Well, it can be figured several different ways. And one of the ways to look at it is to look at the dollars we spent last year, just in 1 year, and look at them in terms of those costs that are allowable against program costs. Now, for instance, you can't allow rent and office maintenance because we don't do the programs for the most part on site. We do them in the schools.
Right.
So there's a part of that budget we cannot cost out. But the great majority we can, because it is geared toward the programs. If you take that money, a good 90% of that is earmarked for the GISD. And last year alone, we spent $75,000 on programs for the GISD.
Wow. Now that figure, that probably doesn't include, or maybe it does, you can correct me, that probably doesn't include the cost that you can't add. I mean, that probably pays for just the supplies and materials and things to get the programs going. That doesn't pay for all the volunteer hours that goes in, does it?
I'm not telling you about in-kind.
Right.
No, if you got into in-kind, that would be several $100,000
Wow.
that is invested into the program because there is so much that is donated. And when we are in a Shattered Dreams year, which we are just approaching, we have just begun plans for our next Shattered Dreams, which will happen in February, that year will be huge because of what is donated back to the program in order to do Shattered Dreams at the high school.
How did we have these programs before Drug-Free Greenville came along? Or if we did, how were we able to do
We didn't.
Yeah.
We did not have them. I can't think of any of these things that we are doing today that existed 20 years ago in the school district. We just flat out didn't have it.
See, and I would think for a lot of people whose kids have gone to Greenville IC schools for the last 9-10 years, like maybe the parents of a senior perhaps, they probably can't imagine it any other way. And that's good, though. I mean, that's good that they can't imagine any other way than that. You may have mentioned this before. Is all of the money that Drug-Free Greenville raises during a given year, is all of it raised at the walkathon?
No, most of it is raised most of the operating cost is raised actually at the time of the walkathon, but it's not raised necessarily with the walk.
Okay.
It's the signs that you see out in front of Walmart right now when we call that Walkopoly. That again, besides being our major fundraiser and the source of the major funding, is also really good prevention because at this moment in time we have approximately 120 signs with names on them of people who have all joined together in a partnership to say we want our community and the kids in our community to be able to grow up drug-free. And because we want that so badly, we're willing to make a donation and put our name out here for a month. And that's powerful also.
Yeah. So much of what you do is geared, towards us here in the school business. How have you found the cooperation and the participation from not just the Greenville ISD principals, but the teachers? How have you found that to be over the years?
It's wonderful. It's absolutely the only way that it even works. There's no way that Drug-Free Greenville, no matter how good the program was or how effective the program could be, it wouldn't happen without the teachers, without the principals, because prevention happens at the school level. And so without them, we wouldn't have a program at all. The program I was talking about earlier about the Heroes Lunches, for instance, that couldn't happen without the GISD being an integral part of that program because the nutrition services provides the boxed lunches. The transportation department provides the bus rides. We couldn't do it without the partnership with the GISD. It's very significant.
You mentioned a few minutes ago, you mentioned campus challenges. Let's talk a little bit more about the campus challenges. We have some very interesting challenges that have already formulated for this year. I think we're going to see these on the screen while I mention them. For example, Crockett will be featuring Barnyard Madness if the campus reaches its goal. Principal Jennifer Stout or Assistant Principal Chrissy Youngblood have committed to kissing a cow and a pig. Yuck. Carver's Field Day will include a water slide on the hill at the back of the school. Kids will be able to go down the slide on tubes, as will some of your braver teachers. If Carver meets its goal, Assistant Principal Bobby Bowen will try the slide as well. I wonder if anybody has told Bobby that yet. If not, she's finding out about it now. The Greenville 6th Grade Center has sold Blue Jean passes to students and staff for $3. The passes will be good for use on Thursday, April 9th. If the school raises $500, the principal of the school, David Gish, will lead a team of staff members for a students versus staff volleyball game that same day. And breaking news, they did reach that goal. They are having the game. I found that out today.
Great.
At Bowie, the school is going to put out 6 buckets, one each for assorted staff members on the stage during lunch with the staff members' pictures on them. Students will put money in the bucket of the person they want to have blue hair on Friday, April 17th. Lamar's PE teachers are constructing what Principal James Evans terms a special vehicle. James is always very mysterious. Special vehicle that will allow Lamar students to tube in the hallway during PE classes and lunch periods. Cost of a ride on the vehicle, of course, will be a donation to Drug-Free Greenville. And last but not least, Travis is having a visit from Hannah Banana, which I believe is the principal dressed like Hannah Montana. And a child from each grade level gets to be principal for a day. And once again, I think teachers are eating some disgusting stuff if all goals are met. So the teachers probably hope the goals aren't met so they don't have to eat disgusting stuff.
That's great fun.
But that's just some of the challenges that we have going for this year. Finally, what about on walk day itself? I know you see a little bit of everybody there, but do you see a lot of teachers and kids on walk day?
Yes, we see huge numbers of teachers and kids. We have had actually whole classrooms that have come down as a unit. There's a certain kindergarten teacher that is famous for making her kids shirts, and they come down as a classroom. They've done that several times. It's very important. There's a message that is given to a student when a teacher will say, I'll meet you at the walkathon, and you come and you find me because I'll write your name down, and maybe they'll get special credit, maybe they'll get something for it, but I'm willing as a teacher to go down and meet you at the walk and do this with you. That's a powerful statement that's made by that teacher, and it's a really important statement.
Right. Well, just want to remind everybody that every penny that the organization spends on these programs is raised in Greenville, and it is spent here in Greenville, most of it during the walkathon. Sharon, we appreciate you visiting with us today. Good luck this next weekend.
Thank you
at the
very
walkathon.
much.
Hope it goes well. We appreciate you joining us. That will wrap up our visit with Sharon Kroenke. For now, let's kick it back over to Sarah and Natalie.
Welcome back to GISD Today. Before we tackle the TAKS test, let's check out what's making news in Greenville ISD.
Several Greenville High School students have made the All-State Choir or advanced to state-level solo and ensemble competition.
Greenville Middle School and 6th grade center students hosted the recent UIL academic competition and also managed to rake in numerous awards.
Several local residents who make a habit of focusing on Greenville's public schools received a bit of praise recently from local PTA leaders.
And a GHS freshman softball player started the season off right by pitching a no-hitter in her varsity debut.
For more details on these items and for more news, check out the district's website at greenvilleisd.com. To keep up with what's going on at Greenville High School, visit the GHS Online student newspaper at lionledger.com.
And now, let's send it back to Brad Press, who has some special guests for us.
We talked earlier today about the month of April being a very important month for the school district because it being the month there with the Drug-Free Greenville Walkathon. It's also an extremely important month because April, the end of April, more specifically, is when the second round of TAKS testing rolls around. TAKS, of course, stands for the Texas Assessment of Knowledge and Skills. It is the state assessment test that is given to all students in grades 3 through 11. And joining me today to talk about the next round of TAKS tests are two of Greenville ISD's finest educators. First, I have with me Nelda King, and then with Vanita Hickman. Nelda teaches 3rd grade here at Lamar Elementary, and Vanita teaches reading at the Greenville 6th Grade Education Center. We'll start with you, Nelda. What is this time of year like for students?
It's a busy, busy time of the year for students.
Very busy.
Sometimes stressful. They've been working all year, preparing themselves for this time, and it's finally gotten here. So especially the last week or two, they're just really, really busy trying to make sure they know everything that they need to know in order to pass the TAKS. It's also a busy time of the year for teachers. Let's
Right.
don't forget them.
Right.
Because we are busy, and stressful trying to make sure that the students have all gotten the knowledge and the skills and the strategies that they need in order to pass the TAKS.
That was actually my second question.
Oh, really?
No, that's good. Was what is this month like for teachers? Before we go any further, we do want to take a look at what the testing schedule for the remainder of the year. I think we've got this up on the screen right now. April 27th is the exit retest in social studies for grades 8, 10, and exit. April 28th through 30th is exit retesting. Also on April 28th is math for grades 3, 4, 6, 7, and 10. April 29th is reading grades 4, 6, and 7, and math exit level. On April 30th is science grades 5, 8, 10, and exit, and math in grade 9. Again, some very important tests, and I know our teachers and students are A, looking forward to the test, and B, looking forward to the test being gone. Vanita, I'll direct this question to you. I had a teacher tell me one time that sometimes kids are prepared for the test, but on test day, they come to school not prepared to take a test. What does that mean?
That maybe the night before they didn't sleep well. You know, that happens to us when we're excited and anxious. Maybe the alarm didn't go off. Maybe there was a fight in the family. They didn't have transportation. All kinds of circumstances arise on those days, and prayerfully and hopefully they're good ones.
Right. Well, that's one of the reasons I had you ladies on today. It's not so much, what can parents do to help their kids do better on the test, because, I mean, one answer is they can, make sure their kids study hard, do well in school, and then, when test time rolls around, they'll be better prepared. But actually, are there some small things that parents can do, steps that parents can take to provide more for their children and to help them be more ready on test day? What do you think, Nelda?
Well, hopefully they've been working with them all year long and encouraging them all year. But yes, there are some things on a few days before the test. The students always need that little extra boost, the little encouragement. You can do it, and I think the kids need to have an optimistic point of view. They've got to be optimistic, think they can do it, and if they think they can do it, that's a big part of it. We like to see them come in on the day of the test with a big smile on their face and an I can do it attitude.
Right. Well, and Vanita, I'll throw this one to you now. And I think you're right. I think parents should always encourage their kids. That shouldn't be something just specific to test day. They should always do it. But how important do you think it is, on the days when they're taking this, what really is a high stakes test?
It's paramount. Parents should really talk to their children about what stress is. They've gone all year and worked on the test, and they're familiar with it. They've done it since 3rd grade. Of course, I'm talking from a 6th grade perspective.
Sure.
But if they talk to their children about what stress is and how you can handle it and what are the best things to do, I think the children will come in ready with that big smile and do a very wonderful job on it.
Okay, we know now that, and we agree that encouragement is very important. What about things like getting a good night's sleep, getting a good, healthy breakfast? Again, I feel silly because a lot of these things that we're talking about are stuff that parents should do, and a lot do every day, but I hear, time and time from teachers that, kids have come to school on the day of the test and they didn't have a good breakfast, and so they're hungry, they can't concentrate. How are things like that also important?
Always. Maybe that morning the parent could make the child's favorite breakfast, or if they were able to, stop by their favorite place and pick their breakfast up for them. But a good breakfast is very important.
Great. That means when my kids take TAKS, we're going to McDonald's.
There you go.
First time
exactly.
I know that. We're visiting with Vanita Hickman and Nelda King. We're talking about the upcoming TAKS test for Greenville ISD. Nelda, are there some techniques that you use to help students cope with nerves and worrying about the test? Are there some techniques?
Really, there are some techniques you can use, and I start off my classroom in the morning when they come in with a calm, quiet environment in the classroom. I try 30 minutes that we have before we start the test to motivate them, to let them know that they can do it. During the test, there's also some things that you can do, that we do. I tell my students, if you get tired, if you feel like you're overwhelmed, stop. Take a deep breath, rest your eyes, just meditate for just a few minutes, then start back taking your test. Don't try to just take the test and without stopping. Also, I had one student this week tell me about she was going to play therapy. And I said, just what is play therapy? And it is, she's going to this therapist that is teaching her, she said, to help her to calm down and to not be so stressful while she's taking the test. She's teaching her breathing exercises, stretching exercises that can help her to calm. But I do tell mine, take deep breaths, just stop, rest.
Do you ever run into students that their anxiety level increases as they get further along the day on testing and they see their friends finishing and they're done? Is that a problem? Do they have a tendency to try to rush and catch up, so to speak, to finish at the same time as their friends?
I don't see that so much in third grade.
Good.
I usually have them have a library book out on their desk, and when they finish, quietly read, no sounds. Everybody else respect the others that are still taking it.
All right.
And I haven't seen that
Good.
problem.
Good. Now, Vanita, the TAKS is not like your normal, sixth grade science test or sixth grade math. This is not a test you can cram for, is it?
No, we start the first week of school. The
Day
first
one.
week of school, we start talking about TAKS and strategies and things that we're going to do. So when it does come time, they're not tripping and flipping out.
Right.
They're ready
Right.
on the day that they're going to take the test.
Now, we always encourage parents on the day of TAKS testing and not to pull their kids out of school. Don't schedule dentist appointments, don't schedule doctor's appointments, don't schedule trips to the Ranger game for test day. But what about in a case where a kid is actually physically sick? They don't need to come to school, right, and try to take the test, right?
Well, no, they don't. If it's a sniffle, if it's a little bit of a cold, we'd love for them to go ahead and try to take the test.
Right.
If they're vomiting, bleeding, those kinds of things, we can't have them there. It's a tricky question because we have that 1 week window. They can reschedule the test, I think Thursday or Friday. After that, they can't retake the test, and that means it's a failure for the district.
Right.
So we want them there. There
Right.
has to be very special circumstances.
But once again, no blood on
No
TAKS
blood,
day.
No
vomiting.
blood or vomiting.
That's going to be our theme for next year
There you go.
for TAKS testing. Well, listen, I appreciate you ladies joining us
Thank
today.
you.
Like I said, we look forward to the end of the month with the TAKS test. That'll wrap up our visit with Vanita Hickman and Nelda King. Let's kick it back over to Sarah and Natalie.
And that'll wrap up today's episode of GISD Today on Juice 34.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.